If you want to get into the reasons that can affect babies' sleep.
Ooh, that's a good one. That has actually caused a couple of deaths.
Yeah, I was shocked to find that out.
I do have a master's degree in education. I got certified in sleep consultation and specialized in newborn and infant, toddler, and also special needs. And I also am certified in life coaching, group coaching, and art therapeutical coaching.
Do you have a tip for mums that may be in the thick of it all? What would be a message that you would like to share with other mums? If you are liking this content, please hit the subscribe button, hit that like button. Welcome to the Awakened Mumma Podcast. Maria, you are a certified pediatric sleep consultant and motherhood coach. You are a founder of Mindful Mother, and you help exhausted mums get their babies to sleep and find balance in motherhood through a personalized coaching and support. And personalized is so important. So let's dive in. Let's start with the reasons that can affect sleep, because for mums, whether it's their first time or not, because babies are all different and just like us. And so sleep can be different from one baby to the next. So if you want to get into the reasons that can affect babies' sleep, let's start there.
Ooh, that's a good one. There are a bunch of things that can definitely affect the baby's sleep. If we're talking about, for example, newborns, we have the witch hour, we have the colic, we have the reflux, and all of these things tend to happen around newborn stage because they're like inside the throat is still not fully like developed yet. So, if you don't burp them right, everything comes back up in case you have ever had gastritis or reflux. That's exactly what happens to the babies. If they're hungry, for example, if they're starting solid foods, if they're hitting milestones, that's a big one because that tends to cause a lot of sleep regressions. And so if there's flipping over, if they're learning how to talk, how to sit up, how to pull themselves up, or even just blah, 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 blah. You will probably hear that in the middle of the night because even making cute little sounds is very exciting to them. So these reasons can be huge. If they're overtired, that's another big one. So if you're putting the baby to sleep too late, can cause it. If they're overstimulated, can cause a lot of sleep issues. If they're not having enough sleep during the day, or if they're having too much sleep during the day, it can be stealing from the night sleep. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of different reasons why babies are not sleeping during the night.
I remember witching hour when I first come into motherhood. I didn't know it was a thing, lack of sleep, and that witching hour is for real. Like, you just don't understand until you're in the thick of it that, yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah, and a lot of times it gets confused with colic because a lot of people, they tell me, "Oh, well, the doctor told me it's a colic." I'm like, "Okay, but the colic doesn't pick the exact hour every single night. The colic, if you have your period, you get your cramps different times of the day. It's very similar to the colic. So witching hour usually tends, for those that don't know, does tend to start in the most awkward times of the night that the baby just doesn't stop crying. And, I have had a client that her newborn was just not having it. And she just didn't know what else to do because the baby ate. She was like, she burped. She did everything that she needed it and still nothing. And I'm like, have you tried swaddling? She's like, my baby doesn't like swaddles. I'm like, try swaddling and then just do try the 5 S's and just really loud. And she was like, oh my God, I didn't know. Like, she was like, it worked in less than 5 minutes. She was like, oh my God, it worked. And I'm like, yeah, of course, that swaddling and making them feel them like they're safe. That's a little tip that could help out.
Yeah, it makes sense that your baby's going to find comfort in that security, just like in the womb.
Yeah.
I also believe that toxins play a big part in how babies can sleep, not when the babies were little, but now that they're nearly 3, we've done a cleanse and the twins just started sleeping a lot better. Even they just had these routine times where they were waking up from midnight and they would just get in our bed and go back to sleep. But you could tell it was like itching their skin, just disturbed, like they weren't comfortable, and removing the toxins from their body made such a huge difference. All of a sudden I was like, it's midnight and the twins are asleep. So that's huge. I know that nutrition plays a big part in it, but removing the toxins plays another big part in it. I just wanted to mention that part too, because I know that when babies are born, they're already born with toxins through the placenta, through the cords. Unless you have tried to conceive and you have already done cleanses and that sort of thing prior to falling pregnant, once you're pregnant, there's not a whole lot that you can do at that stage. And if you're breastfeeding, you can't do any cleanses and detoxes.
Mm-hmm.
It is just something to be aware of, that might be a contributing factor.
Yeah, like the food definitely makes a big part. It's just like, us adults, like, a lot of us tend to like want to separate like, you know, babies and then adults. Like that shouldn't be happening like this age.
Yeah.
But when in reality, if you think about it, for example, they'll tell you like, don't eat certain food because it makes your baby gassy.
Yeah.
I, for one, both of my girls were actually allergic to something in my breast milk. I never found out what it was because the packet was bigger of what I could not eat than what I could eat. And for my own mental state of mind, I decided to stop breastfeeding after 4 months just because it was just way too much. It was just, both of my girls ended up in the ER because of it. One of them was choking on her own reflux and nothing was helping her. And then the other one ended up with blood in her stool. And they couldn't figure out what it was. They were like, oh, it's an allergy. I'm like, okay, but an allergy of what? Because I'm not eating anything I'm eating everything organic, everything clean. I'm making everything at home. Like, we never found out what it was, right?
Wow.
And unfortunately, you don't get educated beforehand, right? And even if you do, you never know what they're going to be actually teaching you and if it is going to be working for you, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, every pregnancy is different, every mother is different, every baby is different, and we never know unfortunately, we never know what part of the lottery you're going to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also wasn't knowledgeable enough to know all of these things back then about
Yeah.
toxins and, the
And
best
everything that's
for
in
my
your
health.
food that you shouldn't be in the food.
Yeah, yeah,
and everything else that it's in your house that shouldn't be in your house, and so on
yeah.
and so forth. Yeah, it's definitely something
It's
crazy
definitely a
that.
cascade of.
Mhm.
But there is one thing actually in saying that when we're looking at toxins, when we look at when our baby starts food, baby cereal contains carcinogens and it shouldn't, but it's not regulated, so it does. Don't feed your
Oh,
baby lactose.
nothing in the
Uh,
baby world for anybody that
yeah,
doesn't understand, that
nappies.
doesn't.
Yeah,
Nothing is
yeah,
regulated in the baby world.
yep,
Absolutely, and that's something that blows my mind
yes,
because
yes,
including the shampoo, including the creams. Like there's
yep,
been babies that have been horribly burned by these products, and yet you see them everywhere. You see
yeah,
babies that have choked on the necklace for teething.
mm,
A lot of them have passed away because of that, yet they're still promoting it. There's different cushions, there's so many things. And I just recently found out that it's actually supposedly illegal or should not be illegal. The little clip that like the baby
yeah,
doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah, that has actually caused a couple of deaths. And I was like, you're
And
supposed
they're
to be
allowed to sell
switching
it.
your pacifier every 6 weeks. And I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking? What? So many things that
Mm,
I'm like, it should not be out there, yet is the first thing that you see everywhere, you know?
yeah, yeah. So if you can start there by just eliminating what you're giving them,
Mm-hmm.
check your nappies. That's not easy to do, but I use a good brand of nappies, but I also had done research and I can't remember where I came across a link of all different, like someone named and shamed nappy brands. But if you're looking at your typical brand of nappies that is really popular, don't buy them.
Yeah.
uh, and if
It
you
has
want to make your
latex.
own wipes, then comment below. I'll just send you a recipe that I use because I make my own baby wipes. I use Dr. Bronner's. I'm not an affiliate. That is a Castile wash. I use it for everything. I use it in my baby wipes. I use it in their bath. It is all natural. I use it for cleaning products. It is one to replace a bunch of chemicals. So, and I think that
Yeah.
is something that a lot of mums should just
Mhm.
have for everything, like cleaning
Yeah.
fruits and vegetables. Like,
There's a lot of good and natural ways to do, because if we think about it, a lot of like our ancestors, how did they do it with half of the things that you go
yeah,
into the detergent aisle and there's so many that you don't even know which one to choose from.
yeah,
I finally found one that only has like maybe 5 ingredients, and they're all the ones that I can understand. And I was like, wait, what? I found one, especially here in the United States. Like, what is, and of course, it's like in the middle of the aisle where you can't really see it. And I'm like, of course, this is like, and it's all a game, right? At the end of the day. And it's wild to me. And for the pacifiers, there is actually a mom that just recently started her own that are latex free, like all of these toxins completely free. The best part is that you can like a screw on, so you can actually screw it on and take it off. Like with it has to be you as the adult that can actually like do it, and it's machine washable completely. She was like, listen, she went through literal hell with her baby, that she was like, and she started doing the whole research on the pacifier situation, and she was like, what is this? And she's like, no, we have to make the change. And so when I saw that, I was like, man, I need to tell more moms about this product, because she tests every single batch. And what people don't know is that the batches, like the products that they sent out, they only test it maybe, if lucky, once a year.
Wow. Yeah, that's not good enough.
No, it is not. It is not.
Well, for anyone looking for any tips on different ways to remove toxins and stuff, I did an episode on that, so you can have a look at that one so that we can move past, because I feel like that's a rabbit hole we could go down. And we'll look at other things for the contributing factors, so things like routines and melatonin. That's another one that, for anyone that saw, I did a short episode on that where I shared what I do. So if you want to watch it, go back and have a look at that.
The last one that I forgot, screen time. Time is huge, even for
and
us
it's
adults.
Something that is just like, it's just so common. Everyone's on screens. So
yeah. I mean, no shame. At the end of the day, I know that we all end up doing it. At least most of us tend to end up doing it because, it's just, it happens. But if we are able to limit that and try to have like a timer, or, if you have to, because I mean, I know that there's some days that we're probably like losing our minds, and it's kind of like we just need like 3 minutes. Try to make sure that you're using something that's not overstimulated, very neutral tones. But if you can just overall just not do it at all, they will get better sleep. And just like you will get a better sleep if you're not on any type of technology before at least 2 hours beforehand, because that plays a huge part even on us adults, and even more on the little ones.
Like we mentioned, having a baby in a routine, that's just part of it. Mm-hmm. You need a proper routine too. You can't implement something for your baby and then you're stuck being wide awake and baby's sleeping. Yes, baby gets a good night's sleep, but you're still a zombie. So having that absolute like cut off screen time, and having your, sunlight for melatonin and all of those things is going to play a big part. Like for our babies know, if we go for a walk at the end of the day, we've already had dinner, we go for a walk at sunset, and we come back and it's bath time, and then it's bedtime. Like we have that same routine of it just flows on, and there's no surprises. And they know, because they're like, oh, it's getting dark, and we're like, yeah, we better get home so we can get ready for bed. So yes, I mean, obviously that sort of thing, how you have a routine varies in different ages.
And it's crucial. It is crucial for any age, including newborns, right? You're paying attention to those wake windows. Like you're putting out a great one, because that's the one that most parents don't understand, that is very important. And it doesn't matter what age they're in, because at least, for example, my 2-year-old, she sees the swaddle and she starts running because she knows it's time to go to sleep. And she starts like, running around, party time, because she's just silly overall. Just, she's a goofball. And then my oldest, she's like, okay, we're going to sleep. Okay, she puts on her PJs and she goes straight to her little library and she picks out a book, because she knows that it's time to read a book before going to sleep. We read a book, we cuddle a bit, we pray, and then she goes to sleep. And then with the little one, we're starting the reading the book routine as well. So, reading a book will be great, like to substitute a screen, for example, and increase their vocabulary, and it helps them kind of like relax from the whole day. Right? It's kind of like a nice switch of like, oh, we're reading? Okay. And it's fun for them. It really is. It's amazing. And it's a great bonding time too.
Yeah. We were doing a book at bedtime. Sometimes we'll bring it in before a shower, but we switched from a book to instead of moving their minds into like an adventure of whatever's happening in the story, the science behind talking about what they already did that day is it
Yeah, like their brain
uses that
actually
part of their
starts.
brain so that it helps them to go to sleep. So what we'll do is once we go to bed, we then discuss, did you enjoy your day today? Wasn't it nice that we got to go outside and play in the water? And what was your favorite part? And we just talk about what they already did, because their mind isn't then activated to all of the stories and adventures of like whatever's happening in the story. And we
Well,
found
I
this
mean,
to be like really beneficial because they
yeah.
enjoy talking about what they did.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like that goes along with like the personalities because for example, at least the book that we read is always like the ending of the book is always like, okay, now time to say goodnight. And it's like
Yeah.
very, like it's always like goodnight books instead
Yeah.
of like you said, like those really, I mean, there's some kids that would love that before going to bed. There's some kids that probably need that. I don't know. But at least mine needs that. And then I like to ask her, like, what was your favorite part of your day and things like that. But I know that if I pick certain subject, oh my gosh, she will never stop talking. She will never stop. She's a talker. She's like, on, and this happened and that happened. Oh my God. And then she starts asking because she's 4. So
Yeah.
she loves asking question and but why, but why, but why? So that's a never ending conversation. We start doing also something that I like to, work with my clients is also the great, like list what you're grateful for. Right. And that helps your little one to start being grateful for the things and being conscious of like, oh my God, I have a bed, I have a roof over my head, I have a mommy, or I have a dad, or I have somebody here that loves me, or I have a pet, or whatever it is, like mine likes like, oh, I have my stuffed unicorn. I'm like, okay, awesome. That's what you're grateful for, and, I do mine. And it's nice to be able to kind of like remind yourself, kind of like ground yourself again of the amazing things that you have on your daily basis, which at the end of the day, it will help with whatever is going on through your brain of like, okay, things are not that bad in case you are going through a tough time in your life.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, you do an individual approach for everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
while some children do well with minimal talk and some children do well with stories and other children just may love cuddles, everyone's different. And
Mm-hmm.
with the books, there's these conscious stories. I'm not sure if you've seen them or have them, but they are designed for sleep time to talk about whether it's big feelings or it's just different things that they're struggling with or things that they're learning about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be looking at getting some of these for the twins' birthday because I just think that they're such beautiful books. And this is the sort of book that I would love to have at rest time because, like you,
Mm-hmm.
I was only trying to choose ones that were like, that would lead to bedtime. And now we go to sleep. And
Yeah.
I found it much harder to come across a varied amount of those books. But these conscious stories, I'm really looking forward to getting.
You know what's also very beneficial? Massages.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you
My twins love them.
I know that there's an app that they do kind of like a story time, like very like, soothing story time while you're massaging them and giving them, because you might think it's like, oh, a kid, why would they need a massage? And mine, like as soon as I start massaging her, she's like, oh, just keep going. Just keep going right here.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I'm like, that's crazy that I would have never thought that a 4-year-old would have been like, can you massage here? What?
I
That's wild.
I do the same. Nighttime really is dependent on what they need
Hmm.
at that time. And I've used massages too.
But it's an amazing, like these are tools depending on your kid's personality, right? And that goes very well with the routines. And also, in case you do decide to do some type of sleep training, what type of sleep method works for your little ones and yourself, because it all depends on the dynamic of the household and the personalities of the little ones, because there's some little ones that you can put them in the crib and they're totally fine, and then there's some that you can pick up and like soothe them and then put them back to sleep and they're perfectly fine. But there's some that you pick them up and they get even more furious the fact that you even touch them again. And so it all depends on personalities and what happened through the day as well.
And it doesn't make it any easier when you're a
Hmm.
first time mum and you have no idea about all of this. If you're comparing your experience in motherhood to someone else you're seeing. And now that we have social media, like, I can only imagine how much harder it would have been for me 22 years
Mhm.
ago when I became a mum, because, man, I came from a background of childcare. So everyone said to me, "You're going to be a great mum." Did I receive any real talk? No. So was I shocked? Yes. Did I have a colicky baby? Yes. Did I have actual experience with breastfeeding and that newborn and that sleepless nights because he didn't want to sleep? No. So if I was comparing myself to other people, wow, I would have been even more like just low
Mhm.
mood. I think
Mhm.
that that's important for mums to understand. Every baby is different. And
Yeah.
yes, while your
Yeah.
friend or someone you follow
Mhm.
on social media says, "Oh, my baby, look, they sleep all night," and that's not the case for everyone. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong.
I'm gonna tell you this much. Very few babies actually are very good sleepers. Very few. Now, there's some moms that are totally okay waking up throughout the night. Totally fine with that if it works for them and they're happy and go for it, you know? For my first one, I dreaded those times that she would wake up. With the second one, since I understood what was going on, I actually embraced it, especially because my husband and I took the decision that we didn't want any more than the two that we have. And so I even embraced it even more, you know? But you make a very valid point. Like, you know, any new mom that's listening to this, I want you guys to know that social media lies. And I want you to understand that. And it's the truth. Like, if you think about it, you know, and even me that I have gone through it and seen it, you know, and I grew up with it, you know, first of all, most moms do not have like an amazing flat stomach as soon as they give birth. No. Let's start off right there. No, most of us do not have a nice, organized, clean house. No, because you're either putting that time to your kids or you're putting that time
which
to your house,
which we should,
you know?
because you should be staying in that love bubble and
Hmm.
recovering, resting your body, and
Yeah.
just loving your baby, because yeah, it's just such
It
an
goes by too
important time for
fast.
healing and bonding.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, and here's something that had stuck to me that my husband's aunt told me. She was like, kids are not going to remember a messy household. They're going to remember how much time you actually spent with them. And for kids, most people don't understand, like, don't remember this or don't understand it, that, you know, I taught middle school, I've taught in high school, and now I work with babies and I work with toddlers. And I can tell you this much: love, like, for them, love is time. You can give them any type of material things in the world. You can give them as much screen time as you want. But at the end of the day, what kids desire and want the most is you, right? And so, you know, these people in social media will tell you that they have like the most perfect motherhood, and in reality you don't really know what's going on behind that. And it's so much pressure, it's so much pressure on us, you know, like, you know, and they tell you you have to do this, and oh, don't do this, or if you do this you're going to be a bad mom, or whatever it is. And the mom guilt is real, mom shaming is also real.
Mm.
And
It's another thing you don't expect too, the mum guilt. It's a lot easier to release that with the experience of motherhood and go, baby's okay. Like,
yeah,
baby's with dad or baby's with
yeah,
grandma, or, you know,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah,
We're all good.
that's
But in the early
that's
days, the
yeah,
hormones are really depicting how you show up and feel.
yeah. It, and the amount
Yeah.
of pressure that you have, like, whether it's in your household and then you top it off with the social media of, you know, what is a good mom? Oh my goodness. Like, you know, and that is when, you know, if you do get to that point of like, you know, having this mom guilt that suffocates you, I think you should have like a detox when it comes to social media. Because let me tell you, like, it can play such a huge part on the postpartum depression, anxiety, rage, so on and so forth. And you're trying to heal, right? Your body goes from having a human inside of you to not having the human inside of you, and then knowing that they're outside and your hormones are all over the place. You're trying to get back to normal. Your brain is trying to like understand what's going on, and you're reprogramming your brain now, right? You're adding more information, and then your whole body is just trying to like, wait, this organ goes back into this place and this organ goes back to this place, you know, like all of these things are going on in just matter of like, you know, seconds and then minutes and then, you know, so on and so forth. And postpartum is not 2 years. Most women don't know that. It's actually 7 years.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I was shocked to find that out. Breastfed for 2.5 years and entered perimenopause. I was still dealing with postpartum with my
yeah.
hormones. I entered
Hmm.
perimenopause because I'm in my 40s.
And now recently I heard that the research is showing that premenopause is actually starting in the early 30s.
Yep.
And so I've been feeling very tired and things like that. And now I'm gonna see like a hormonal specialist, because I'm like, everybody's like, oh no, you're fine. And I'm like, there's something going on, because I'm so exhausted all the time, and clearly nobody's hearing you. And that's another thing, man. Like, if you're listening and you're a mom or a first time mom or you're pregnant, or understand this, you're going to have a lot of individuals that are going to dismiss you. You're going to have a
Yes.
lot of people that are going to completely either contradict you, completely trying to interfere whatever is going on with you, your family, and your kids. And you're going to be the only advocate for yourself and for your kids, because nobody else is going to speak up for you. And, at the beginning, my first pregnancy, I changed five different OBs. I'm glad I changed, because the first one, with a miscarriage, apparently I shouldn't be asking what were my symptoms. And then the same week I had a miscarriage. There you go. Dismissed completely,
And
and
nutrition is such a big part for men too, because most of the percentage of miscarriages is actually coming from the man, because he creates the placenta. So if you're sick, as trying not to swear so much, but I just get really passionate. If you're very, very sick during your pregnancy, it's because he had all of the toxins, his nutrition wasn't right. So yeah, I absolutely, and hashtag ad, I use and recommend nutrition support that I know has all of these benefits. And I 100% believe that this is the work people should be doing prior, if you're trying. If not, it's never too late. It's how I was able to help balance my hormones. I'm using a magnesium now, and that was really helpful to start with in perimenopause. And omegas, that's so important. I just saw this, I mentioned in another episode, this study about omegas, and I already knew that they were having toxic things going on with salmon, because we know someone who worked in the farm down there, and they said they would never eat it. You're actually healthier eating a Big Mac than you are eating salmon from there. Most of the salmon is coming from there, and they are selling poisoned, diseased fish. The only reason they doesn't make the markets if the fish itself is falling apart. It's gray, and they use food dye to color it.
just like cows, that's the amount of like, you're eating the stress that those cows go through, and most of them have cancer, and yet they still serve you that. And then we're wondering why so many cancer patients are getting diagnosed on a daily basis.
That's why I stopped drinking dairy,
wild.
because
It's wild.
of the pus, the blood, the hormones, the stress that the cows are under. We eat fish, and it is freshly caught, because my husband's a fisherman. He's actually out fishing today.
That's awesome.
He always has a very good day, most of the time. And so we have an abundance of fresh caught fish. So omegas, that most of them, the fish oil that people are taking is coming from that. So if everyone's taking that, stop it right now, because you might think that it's helping. But if you're trying to take a supplement, do your research, because if you want to be putting good stuff in, that's the whole point of it. And omegas is really helpful for your brain health when you're recovering postpartum, because our brain literally changes shape. And so we need those omega fatty acids to go back in there to help our brain health recover. And look for plant-based. That's what I use and recommend to my clients, is plant-based omegas. And it's just going to help with that brain fog and recovery. So that's another.
That's very essential, especially the postpartum part is very essential, to make sure that you're still taking your prenatals, because a lot of people don't tell you that. They don't tell you, like, oh, you want to get pregnant? Maybe you should start taking your prenatals like 3 months beforehand. So that way, you can start, and I'm here like, okay, so that could have helped me. And here's another thing, going back to the dads, right? I had gestational diabetes with my actual rainbow baby, right? And I was so mad at my body, so upset. And I can tell you this much, like, I still remember just sitting in the shower and just crying my eyes off, like, because thankfully I didn't have to use insulin, right? Because I was on diet based, right? And I was on a very strict diet and just making sure. And there was once that, the nurse, I showed her the picture, and she was like, yeah, you have to come in tomorrow, and we might have to talk about insulin. And I was even more frustrated with my body, because I'm like, I'm doing all of this, and yet this is still happening to me. It's not like I gained weight, like I just went on this huge spiral. And then recently I hear that gestational diabetes doesn't really, I mean, yes, depending on your diet and depending on what you're doing, but a lot of times it also depends on the dad's health. And my mother-in-law had a gestational diabetes in all of her 3 pregnancies. Nobody in my family has ever had any of nobody, mind you. I have over 35 cousins. We have a huge family, and nobody has ever had gestational
They've been
diabetes.
busy.
My grandma had 11 kids, and my dad's part was 5. Yeah, man, you know, yeah. Like I said, my grandma lived up to like 97, and my other grandma's actually still alive. She's gonna be 90. So yeah, we have a very, very large family, and yeah, nobody has diabetes. And then I get pregnant with my first, with my rainbow baby, and then I get gestational diabetes. And then when I hear that it's basically because of his
Genetics,
health,
his DNA.
his DNA was what's made the placenta, which made me have gestational diabetes, which now I have to make sure that I'm very healthy and making, very careful with, because after, I believe, 7 to 10 years after you had that baby, you can become automatically pre-diabetic or automatically have type 2 diabetes. And when I heard that, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Nobody tells you this beforehand. Like, I mean, I still would have had,
We need a book of real talk, like the facts that we actually just need to know.
and nobody wants to talk about it.
And you mentioned the prenatal vitamins. I just want to touch on that because folic acid is in all prenatals. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are, I think, are some that you can find that are actually good quality that don't have it because folate is what you want. Folic acid is a man-made.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the MTHFR gene, then you should definitely not be having folic acid. So, it depends on your own DNA. Take folate.
Mm-hmm.
Folate. I just wanted to add that if you're pregnant,
Oh.
do your research on anything that you take.
Yeah. Obviously, we want to inform you and we want to educate you. If it does start creating a lot of stress, because man, this is a lot of information, I get it. Take one thing at a time, take one step at a time, do your research. If it gets too much, stop, take a breather, take a break, and continue.
So there's lots of factors that come into our postpartum recovery, which obviously has an effect on our sleep and the baby's sleep. And yeah, I mean, I don't even know if we've mentioned everything, but I think we've given a pretty general list of how pretty much everything can affect baby's sleep with your routines, your diet. Just little things like whether they like to be swaddled. And like you mentioned that you have an individualized approach. So when people come to you, do they have a call where you sort of discuss sort of what's going on for them and come up with a plan? Do you want to explain what your process is?
So I actually offer a free 15-minute consultation call, because I would like to first, see where you are, right, in your journey. And if it's a very easy fix, like, hey, you're putting your baby, or your little one, putting them to sleep at 9, I will tell you right then and there, that's a huge issue. They should be going to sleep at latest 8:30, but anything before that, it's golden, right? And then after that, I email you, okay, these are the goals, this is what you want to do, this is what we're going to be working on, and I give them an intake form because I want to know where you are in your postpartum trip. I want to know what personality your little one has, and I also want to know what is your intake on the crying, and see what type of method you want to choose, because there's some moms that want a very, they need a very fast fix. And there's some that like, hey, I'm a stay at home mom, I'm perfectly fine, I could take the 2 weeks for me to do a very gentle way. So that is something that I like to do to make sure that you get what you need.
And to give people an idea of, like we've discussed your journey and your experience here, do you want to give people an idea of your certifications in this field?
Okay, so I do have a master's degree in education. Then with everything that has gone with my little ones, I started understanding how important sleep is. So I got certified in sleep consultation and specialized in newborn and infant, toddler, and also special needs. And I also am certified in life coaching, group coaching, and art therapeutical coaching, because I do know that the arts is very important, just to make sure that you realize that you just take a breather, because us moms tend to be on the go, 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 and we forget the breathing. Yeah, that's my certifications. I am constantly going to, to the conferences to make sure that I'm always up to date with the new research and any new methods or any new product that is actually safe for you and the baby, because I'm not going to sit here and sell you something that can possibly even remotely have a chance of affecting you or the baby.
Beautiful. That's so important, because there's so much, I want to say information, but it's not necessarily information because it's not necessarily correct. But there's a lot out there that can be overwhelming. And especially if you're coming into motherhood and you're trying to make the best decisions that you can. And obviously your hormones aren't as calm as they were before. I'm hoping that we haven't overwhelmed anyone today, because it is a lot. We have mentioned a lot of things that can affect sleep, and the real talk about what it is like coming into postpartum, because it's just not spoken about enough. Because like we mentioned, we have social media, so easy to compare our day where we're like, oh my God, it's lunchtime, I'm still in my pajamas and the house is a mess. When you can remove yourself from the comparison and just sit in your love bubble and do your research.
Do an inner work, because your kids will know, like, your kids will teach you what triggers you. I have a lot of things going on. I have a business, I have a lot of things. And there's sometimes that I need to even remind myself. And there's sometimes that I love tattoos, to like just write on my tattoo on my finger, like, breathe, because I forget to breathe. My ribs start hurting because I forget to, and I'm like, who forgets to breathe? This one right here, my ribs get swollen because I forgot to breathe. So now that I'm in this journey, and now I'm teaching, other moms, and I also have a program specifically for new moms that is to help you navigate all of these pressures, right? And it can be so overwhelming that it can lead to a lot of not good things mentally. So I do give you like some intake and tools that it can help you kind of like digest the information that you're taking in. And in case you need a mom that is in PJs, especially all the way to half the day, you're more than welcome to go ahead and call and FaceTime me, because I will be more than happy to show you that a lot of us, especially if you have little ones, it's very, unless you have a 9-to-5 job, if you're at home, most likely you're going to be in PJs, or you have a very cold coffee waiting for you. And that's reality, and that's a beauty of motherhood. And a lot of us will tell you, like, a lot of moms that have kids that are over 7 will tell you, like, after they hit a certain age, you're going to start having the time to be able to wear your hair a certain way. And, because at the end of the day, we all have different stories. We all go through similar things, different stories. But note that at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all moms. And in case you do need somebody to, like, hey, Maria, you know what? My house is a mess and I'm like driving me wild, be like, listen, girl, I have a pile right there of laundry. It's been sitting there for the past 3 days.
You mentioned breath work. Now, I love that you have that for women, the little toolbox, because breath work, I have mentioned in previous episodes, it's a feminine energy. We are spending so long of our day in masculine energies with all of the doing, like the washing that I'm not doing, because it's a masculine energy. Not doing it. But all of the doing that we're spending, like our 9-to-5s, our housework, even mothering, unless you're taking that time to have mindful play where you'll go out and sit in nature and let's smell the flowers. We make a conscious effort to do those, because being is feminine. Now, my tip here, what I used for twins, I did breath work when I tandem breastfed, because am I going to catch a break? Otherwise, probably freaking not. I'm not going to get a whole lot of time to just sit there and focus on my breath, but I can while I'm holding the babies. So I would sit there with the babies on each boob, and I would just focus on my breath. And that became a beautiful bonding experience, because I'm nurturing my babies and I'm providing what they need, and we're connecting, and I'm also just being. And it was such a good time. So that's why I think I was able to continue my breastfeeding journey, because I produce a lot of milk, so I could.
You are very blessed.
Yeah. Do you have a tip for mums that maybe in the thick of it all?
Routine is crucial. It does not matter what age. Trust me when I tell you this, does not matter what age, including teenagers. A routine is crucial. And even when you're folding clothes, you can take a deep breath. When you're cooking, take a deep breath. Because just by you taking deep breaths, I'd be more than happy to also share that with you. I actually have a free ebook that would teach you different tricks of what you could do, or different tools of what you could do throughout the day, even on a busy day, just on a car ride. 1, 2, 3, 4, or the gratitude, or, your kids are playing and just sit next to them and do a mandala, or, there's different things that you can do while you're having with your kids, or while you're working, while you're doing whatever it is. There's always a few seconds that you can do for you to be mindful and be present in the moment, because depression is based on the past, anxiety is based on the future. But if you're present, most likely you're going to be very calm, and you're just present, you're mindful, you're understanding what's going on in front of you, and that's the beauty of it. It is amazing what just 5 seconds of breathing, 10 seconds of breathing can change your whole day.
And like I said, I shared my sleep tips in another episode, but part of that was breathing. I have a message to share with mums. You are not alone. Motherhood can feel so isolating, especially if you've got the shiny object syndrome, where you're doing the whole comparison. Look at these mums just killing it over here. Why do I feel like this? You're not alone. Other mums are going through the thick of it too. So stay with it. Reach out to people who you feel that you can relate to, and get some support, be heard. But there's always someone, and either it's someone who shows up online like us, who create these communities where we have this open discussions. I never turn anyone away when they come to my inbox, and whether it's somebody who you are close friends with, whether it's your mum, whatever, talk to someone. You're not alone. What would be a message that you would like to share with other mums?
Oh my God, yes. To be honest with you, that's oh my God, that's so important, because it is true. You're not alone. And, find a tribe. Because, the day I was actually talking to a mom, and she was like, oh, I don't have time for friends. And I'm like, us as women, studies have shown us as women, we need other women in our life.
It's how we're designed.
And yeah, that's exactly how we're designed. Even you just look at the cavemen. Look at how even they would paint it. Us women, we need to stay together. We need to, and find the ones that resonate with you. Find the ones that actually believe what you believe, how you want to raise your kids. Because at the end of the day, let me tell you something. Everybody has their own way. Everybody thinks their own way. Do what's best for you and for your family. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to have a different opinion. Choose the people that you feel comfortable with and safe with. And find somebody that's not going to be here and judge you, because that's another one. There's a lot of moms that will tell you certain things, and you're like, feel bad about yourself. No, find women that will bring you up and listen to you, instead of listening to you and then bringing you down or shaming you, because that's not what we should be doing. We should be
They are not
gathering.
your people.
So yeah. Find your tribe, find your people, find the women.
So it really does take a village.
Yeah. Yes, it does. It doesn't take a village to raise a kid. It takes a village to help the mom.
Yeah. Well, I'm really curious to know what people's top takeaways were. So let us know. Comment below and let us know if there's something that you're struggling with, that you need help with, or whether we've mentioned something that has kind of been like a light bulb that you're like, oh my God, that's something that I could implement. I would really love to open up a discussion so that other mums can feel like me too, because me too, we shared openly our journeys, and it hasn't all been roses. We learn as we go through things. And so I think that, you're not gonna know unless you've come up to that roadblock that this is what I need to learn. What do I do with this? So I know that we've gone off topic. We do that. we ramble. So hopefully you stayed with us for that long. Thank you.
Mom brain, and here ADHD mom brain. So it's even like on ecstasy. So yeah. But it's okay.
Perimenopause here got me good. Oh, dear.
That's the beauty of it. I'm gonna, the bad times will always bring good times, and the bad times will let you understand that will give you this type of knowledge and this power later on in life that will help you help others that need help just like you did. So, we have, you and I have gotten through certain things in our life that I can tell you that this is why we do what we do and what we're doing right now. So I love this so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is why I have this platform, is because the mentoring and the growth, everything that I have been able to access has really changed the trajectory of my life. It has changed how I show up as a lover, as a mother, everything. And so I love to be able to share this with everybody else. So if you are liking this content, please hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, because my whole channel is designed for not just mothers, but women who are on that journey. And as you'll see from my episodes, it is so like here, there, and everywhere, because I kind of like to wear all the hats. I know, what toxins are going to be harmful. I like to know like the feminine energies and leadership and, all of that stuff. There's just so many things that can play a part in how we show up in life. And so I think that there are really important messages that like to be shared. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Before you go, if today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know your biggest takeaway. And if you found value in this conversation, take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support helps this message reach more incredible women just like you. Thanks for being here, and until next time, keep shining and stepping into your power.